Yes, I'm bringing back the bow. Why not? Anyway, before we head to Akamos and continue with our next itinerary, I did want to make a video tackling some side activities, just to wrap them up a bit. And also show off the brand new random encounters. Well, at least the ones that are relevant. The ones that actually have items to be found. Including a merchant, which I've already alluded to in previous episodes, who has popped up since getting the Ring of Light. But he sells some very expensive stuff, which means a whole bunch of gold farming, well, is in preparation. I'll show off my method for doing so. But first, let's actually see those random encounters. Starting with the grasslands. I'll catch you when we find the one we're looking for. Well, ignoring what's going on to the right there, that's definitely not necessary to worry about. Here's one of the random encounters of note. The one where you have these Medieval soldiers and knights roaming around. They are marked as friendly, so you cannot attack them. You cannot heal them either, so they will take damage, and unfortunately, they definitely can die. You can go around helping them if you want. I'd rather leave them to their own devices. Let them do their thing. We're not here to waste too much time. This guy has other plans, sure. Yes, these are Iranian mages. And they always drop a staff, by the way. Every time you defeat them, they will always drop a staff. Flea is setting that push bow, that pushback bow. I need to change that. Yeah, if they deal the finishing blow, you won't get the experience, by the way. Fella, you have a nice night, fella. Yeah, they always drop the staff. Yeah, not particularly interested in that item. But yeah, as demonstrated there, when I deal the finishing blow, unfortunately you will not get the experience from the enemy. So keep that in mind, make sure you deal the finishing blow. And yes, that pushback bow of Fleece's, we'll have to change that out. Now there is an item to obtain in this encounter, a very nice item actually. Just found down the way here. Just take care of these fellas first. I may want to switch that fiery falchion out. It's played its part, at least. Looks like they're having fun over there. Yeah, they're definitely having fun over there. I'm sure they're doing fine. It's not vital that you help them out. It's just a random encounter after all. Yeah, that pushback bow, that's a little bit annoying to work with. I suppose it has its uses though. It's not entirely a pain to deal with. Rosalind, are you on the bottle today? Tonight? Yeah, she's definitely having a moment. Anyway, let's get that item, shall we? Summoner and its quirks. You got to love it. The Archer's Medallion, though. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Perfect for flares here. Yeah, that pushback effect. Yeah, very, very awesome, actually. Definitely worth picking up. I definitely would recommend that. Well, let's finish off the enemies here.
I'm stronger.
Yes, indeed you are, Jakar. Indeed you are. Meanwhile, Rosalind's on the bottle. Anyway, let's head to the hills, shall we? Let's run to the hills because Rosalind is drunk. No, the hills are just over this area. I don't know if I've ever explained the random encounter mechanic, actually. But you definitely have random encounters over the whole of the world map. Different spots will have different encounter types. So the general rule is the lighter green areas will be the grasslands. The last encounter I showed off was the grasslands. To the south where these darker patches of green are, these would be forest encounters, which I'll also be showing off as well. And anything in this whole area, including these green patches, these are the hills encounters. And we want to show off the hills encounters right now, so I'll catch you when we do find the ones you're looking for. This is definitely one of the ones I want to show off. Oh, these fellas here, these are red basites. The red basite are very similar to the brown. They just have the fiery attribute tied to them. Speaking of the fiery attribute, the fiery falchion will not be effective against them. They absorb fire attacks. Icy dagger? Yes, definitely worth it. You having fun there, Fleers? You know what? We'll leave Fleers to it. Oh, by the way, they can drop a health tonic. They can drop, so a very powerful healing item to be on the lookout for. Don't go running after it, fellas. Yeah, that's the pushback. Yeah, thank you, Rosalind. That will help out. Oh, the brown basites. Paralysing them will help out a bit. You know what? I'll speed this up and catch you when we've taken care of the situation. You know what? That bow is not entirely bad. It really does help out quite a bit. But it could be an absolute freaking nuisance. Anyway, let's go over yonder. Right next to this area transition. Let's hope we can take care of this enemy before Fliz has her way of it. She's having her way of it. That's perfectly normal behaviour. This is Summoner after all. Yeah, backing it in the corner will help out a bit. Well, once you've taken care of the enemies, at least. If you recall several episodes back, I mentioned that you can go into these bushes here. I said it would be relevant later on. Well, it's now later on, and it is relevant. Because this time there will be an item to be found in the bushes, actually. The siege bow. Oh. Not as impressive as it sounds, though, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a pretty standard bow, honestly. No additional effects, but it will definitely help. It'll help Fliz playing around with enemies. Oh. Anyway, there is another heals encounter I want to show off, so let's be on the lookout for that. Well, after half an hour, we finally fucking find a random encounter. Yeah, thank God you fellas won't have to deal with how long this actually took to find. Here's another one I want to show off. And these fellas here are the Kasani, which we've heard a little bit about. Their god is Vadagar. God of the Earth, I believe, Vadagar is. And these fellas... Oh yeah, that green effect there. They have poison weapons. Be a little bit wary of that. But these fellas do drop some interesting items. Well, one of them's not as interesting. The Iron Gauntlets, which we've already seen. But their weapon is definitely one to be on the lookout for. Let's see if we can obtain one. Could that be the item I'm looking for? It is indeed. Also, Joseph's about to die. Rosalind! Well, let's quickly finish this fella off. Lovely. Now, they do drop a pretty decent amount of experience as well. It'd be a good level grinding spot. Anyway, this is the item that I suggest getting hold of. You can only get him from the Kasani here. A very nice design as well. A Qatar. 45 damage, not bad. Very fast as well. With the poison effect, we've seen that being triggered. It's only equipable by Joseph and Fliss, and here's where the snag comes from. Because you'll notice it has a skill increase for critical hit. There's only one problem with that, however. Joseph and Fliss do not get critical hit skill. Rosalind and Jakar do, but Joseph and Fliss do not get it. So that skill boost is completely worthless. There's no point it being there. It won't make any difference. A little bit of an oversight on Volition's part, unfortunately. Because only Rosalind and Jakar get that skill. It will... Yeah, it's just an oversight on Volition's part. But it still is very useful to obtain, because it is a fairly decent strength weapon. It has that high speed. And that poison effect will be a bit relevant much later on. So when the time comes, I will point out what you can use that poison for. Anyway, we're done here, so let's head to the forest encounters. And we'll specifically be looking for a forest knight encounter. I recommend running around this spot behind Linnell for your forest encounters. I was about to say they're being a bit misbehaved today, but this is actually the encounter I want to look for. This is the one I've been looking for. These fire imps, I'm pretty sure I've shown them off already, but they are your source for gold farming. And yes, this is a bit dangerous of an encounter. You're always put in the middle of these skeletons and that fire imp. It can be a very dangerous start. But yeah, these fire imps, they have a 10% chance of dropping garnets, which sell for a ludicrous amount of gold. 7,000 each. So if you manage to get 100 of them, you're looking at 700,000 gold, which would be more than enough to get, well, a very special item from that merchant I keep alluding to. Anyway, before I stop it here and do some off-screen garnet farming, do want to show off an item here, which it's always here. This item is always spawned. You can actually obtain it as early as, well, the start of the game, but I've refrained from picking it up to this point. And that item is Torva's loot. A very square looking loot, if I don't say so myself. Very stylish though. Yes, that also is relevant to pick up right now. Again, you can pick it up as early as the start of the game. It's always there. But now it actually has a use, which we'll show off. But first things first, let's do a fuck ton of gold farming by gathering all these garnets up. There'll be a whole bunch of fire imps in this random encounter to obtain. Well, to fight. And they will have that 10% chance of dropping garnets. So this is your best encounter for doing so. Just run around finding them and, yeah, keep fighting them until you have enough garnets. Well, without further ado, I'm going to get to it. And I'll catch you when we have the 100 garnets. It's going to take a while. Well, after many days of garnet farming, I've finally done it, 103. That'd be more than enough to make all the gold I need, to make some very expensive purchases. I also got up to 52,000 passively, because enemies will occasionally drop gold. Still not the best way of doing it though. Get those garnets and you have all you need. Also, I took the liberty of equalising everyone's levels. And we're all at level 19 now. Got Jakar, a whole bunch of his chain attacks. He's only missing one of them. As for Joseph, we actually unlocked all of his chain attacks. Yeah, it took him long enough. I don't know why it took him so long to get his chain attacks, but, well, we have them now, so no problems there. Just figured I'd show that off. Anyway, let's head back to Linnell. And let's sell all those garnets. Well, I'll keep hold of one of them. At least I'll try not to sell every single one, but not that they have any function other than selling, but I do like to hold a garnet. This fella is way too close here. I do like his coat of arms on there, that lion. Very nice. You know, we're trying to speak, yes, to the lady here. Anyway. Oh. Did I go a bit I went a bit crazy. Well, there's no bulk selling, so what do you expect? Whew. And I did sell every single one of them. I'm going to have to be sure to pick up one before we move on. Anyway, aside from getting a shit ton of gold by selling all those. Oh yeah, I've also got all these longswords and daggers. The skeletons would occasionally drop them, so let's do some selling on them as well. And you remember that loot we picked up in the forest? Well, let's hand that in as well. Why not? Also, didn't I mention I wanted to buy this bow from this fella? No, don't talk. Yes, I'm sure they do. I'm sure it's very interesting. Very busy in Lanil. Shady Trader. Can I sell you? I can at least sell you daggers. Alright. I'm trying not to sell anything I don't want to sell. Very nice. That longbow though. 50 damage. Very, very nice. Don't mind if I do. Yeah. It's quite a step up. It looks nice as well. Very stylish. Oh yeah, I also picked up a bunch of these studded boots. Well, they're snazzy. Anyway, this fellow in the corner here. This is Torva, the owner of that loot we found in the forest. And apparently he's having problems with his true love. Apparently he has lost his loot, which, according to him, is a magical loot. Yeah. And apparently it can woo his fair maiden. Well, lucky for him, we happen to have found this loot. Yes, we actually have the loot. And he gives you a mountain of gold. 125,000 adding to our already existing 700,000. That's definitely one to be on the lookout for. That's none too shabby at all. Yeah, we're looking very good with gold right now. I cannot complain. So how about we actually head to the world map and look for this merchant I've been so alluding to over and over again. It's about time we actually saw him for once and had a word with him. Seeing what he's actually selling. Well, I'll catch you when we get to the world map. It'd be a grasslands encounter, by the way. So I'll see you when we find it. Yeah, that's the fellow I've been looking for. The travelling merchant. Well, let's go and speak to the fine fella. For my parcel? Yeah, it would be my pleasure. I've never seen that word before. Anyway, this fine fella here, this very fine fella, sells some very exotic stuff, as I've alluded to. Yes, one of them definitely catches your eye more than the others. Let's actually have a look through these first, though. Reflex. None too shabby. Hardwood staff. That definitely is hardwood. Fell staff. Probably the fastest weapon. I believe this is the fastest weapon in the game. Also, 60 damage and a staff. That would be a step up for Roslyn. So how about we make the purchase? Poleaxe. Not bad. Saber harp held. Mightily good. I definitely would recommend this one as well. Very slow though. Saber. Yeah, none too shabby. Pretty fast sword. Fine canister or katana, really. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I will make a purchase on that as well. The Dreadblade. This is what we've been saving our gold for. Can't examine it yet, but we most certainly will when we get it. I shall make the purchase. Eyes your dagger. We know this one. I will buy a second. We know how good they are. Dexterity for dodge. Protection for parry. Ring of Warding for both. You know, I would make the purchase. It's a bit overpriced for what it does. I wouldn't worry too much about parry and dodging. There are definitely better rings available. Hide and sneak. I will make the purchase. Counter-attack and critical hit. I'll also make the purchase for that too. Pyrotechnic fire. Ring of Thieves. I will make the purchase, but I wouldn't recommend buying. I'll show you why. Well, at least it's kind of pointless for me. Also, I've got loads of these longswords, so I just sold the precise falchion. I'm sure we won't miss it. So why not just go down here and... yeah, so I can't accidentally sell anything else. Anyway. They can also go. Tough boots. Thing of the past. Yeah, all the extra studded boots. Well, let's have a peek at our stuff, shall we? I'm actually going to start with the Ring of Thieves. Yeah, pick lock by 3. It's a shame that you have to wait this long to get it, because... well, at least my Fleers has 10 pick lock, and having anything over 10 does not matter. Dreadblade, however. Fleers could not identify the item. Let's fix that real quick. Here's a Dreadblade, folks. 80 damage, which is incredibly high, but pretty slow, only for Joseph. But this paralyze effect here, this is what makes this sword so awesome. And if you have the gold, I would completely recommend getting this. It is very much worth it. It is very, very much worth it. You ain't got the heavy arms, have you, Joseph? Let's fix that too. Now you can equip the awesome sword. Very nice. Very, very nice. We'll be showing that off in the next one when we go to a Kamos. You could be sure on that. Yeah, the Dreadblade, folks. One of the finest weapons in the entire game, which can get this early on. If you're not able to actually get it from the Travelling Merchant, you can get it much later on, but by that point it's still worth using. I mean, it's always worth using throughout the whole game, but it's very, very far later on. Come up to the final arc of the game, actually, you get it. And yes, he wanders off, so be sure to make all your purchases before he does that. yeah, I'm very happy to make the purchase. Yeah, that is the Dreadblade, folks. Again, if you have the time to farm those garnets to get the gold, I would completely recommend getting it. It is very, very useful. It's probably one of the most finest weapons in the whole game as well, so definitely worth grabbing hold of if you have the patience for it. Anyway, that's about all we needed to cover in this episode. From this point onwards, it'll be story for a while. So, yeah. I'll see you in the next, and we shall tackle Akamos. Until then, folks, have a nice day.